guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about parakeets or budgies. I've been saying that I was going to do a care video for them for a while now, so today I'm finally getting to that. Now, parakeets and budgies are basically the same thing. Usually in the United States they're referred to as parakeets, and in the UK they're referred to as budgies. However, I have noticed that there is a little bit of difference between the two, whereas budgies seem to be like a little bit bigger, and this probably happened from breeding, but overall they pretty much are the same and they do have the same care requirements. These small birds are parrots, but they are considered one of the more easy parrots to take care of. However, they are still very intelligent and can be very demanding. They are social animals that need a lot of stimulation. However, they are animals that often suffer from neglect and abuse because they are considered cheap animals. So I will be showing you that even though parakeets are often very cheap to buy, they still need the same care requirements that all parrots need. These guys are actually great talkers and they can learn a lot of tunes and whistles and words. However, they can be very difficult to tame. So if you want a parakeet that you're going to interact with, you're better off getting a parakeet that has been hand-fed or hand-raised. If it has not been hand-fed or hand-raised, it is going to be very shy and it's going to take a lot of patience and a lot of time to tame them. So if they're not hand-raised or hand-fed, they're pretty much just going to be for viewing. Like my parakeets are for viewing. Parakeets are very social animals and they should never be kept alone. So if you're planning on getting a parakeet, make sure that you can get at least two. If you cannot get two parakeets, you need to choose a different type of pet. And if you have a parakeet already and it does not have a cage mate, then you need to go out and get a friend for your parakeet. So under no circumstances should a parakeet be alone. There is just no excuse to have a parakeet by itself, and they're actually really easy to introduce to each other. Parakeets come in so many different colors and patterns. They're just beautiful birds to have in your home. Males and females can be kept together. I've really never had any problems with these birds fighting with each other. And if you do have a male and a female together, you shouldn't provide nesting material for them because they do produce babies very easily. Now, if you're thinking that you want to breed parakeets, instead what you should do is go out and adopt parakeets that need homes. There are already too many parakeets being bred, bought, and abandoned to need more breeders out there. So it's just really not a good idea to want to breed these birds. There's tons of them out there that you can adopt. So breeding for profit or for a hobby is just not a good idea. So let's talk about cages and types of cages that you should avoid. Round cages should never be provided for any type of bird. These cages are actually dangerous and just unfit for birds. So the reason that they're dangerous is because of the bar spacing. When it gets closer to the top, it actually gets smaller, and it's very easy for parakeets or other types of birds to get their toes or even feathers, wings stuck in those bars. So it's not good for them. As well as the fact that a round cage does not let the bird figure out where its territory is because it's round and they need to be able to, see corners, things like that, to see where their cage is. So these round cages are really bad for their mental health because it doesn't give them a reference point to be able to figure out where they are. In round cages, the bird is usually in constant contact with the bars, meaning that their feathers are going to get broken and messed up a lot easier, which is unhealthy for them. And on top of all of that, round cages are actually a lot more difficult to clean, and they're also very difficult to place all of the items that the bird needs inside of the cage. So what you want to do is you want to get a square or rectangular cage. Now the size you need for two parakeets is about 25 by 25 by 18 inches, and this kind of changes depending on the type of cage you're getting, so that's just something to kind of go off of, and those numbers may vary depending on the brand and how they actually built the cage, but that's about the size that you need for them. It's important to get the biggest cage that you can provide for your parakeets, but before getting a bigger cage, make sure you check the bar spacing. They should not have a bar spacing that is bigger than 0.5 inches. Now, if they have a bar spacing that is too big, they can actually get their head through the bars, they'll get their head stuck in the bars, and they can actually end up breaking their neck. So you always want to make sure that the bar spacing is correct before getting a larger size cage. Like all parrots, parakeets need lots of toys. But unlike large parrots, they won't go through their toys as quickly. They won't destroy them as easily. So in that aspect, they are a little bit cheaper. So here are some ideas of toys that you can get for your parakeets. Now, a popular thing to get for parakeets is a mirror. Now, this is something I like, however, it is a controversial topic and a lot of people will tell you that mirrors are bad for parakeets. Now, one of the reasons they say that mirrors are bad for parakeets is that when a parakeet is by himself and you give him a mirror, he'll become obsessed with the reflection and that will become his friend. And he'll become so obsessed that he won't want to do anything else because they're social, of course. They need to interact with somebody else, and if that is only a reflection of themselves, then they are going to become obsessed with staying right next to the mirror. But you see, in that situation, you already did something wrong before even buying the mirror. Why is the parakeet by himself? It's a social animal. Of course he's lonely, and the mirror is not the problem. The mirror is a symptom of the problem. Another thing that people have reported is that parakeets become aggressive and territorial after getting the mirror. But if you have any problems with your parakeet after getting them the mirror, it's really simple. You just take the mirror out of the cage, take the mirror away from them. But, you know, when I've used mirrors for them, I haven't had any problems whatsoever. They actually have several mirrors in there. I think there's like 3 in their cage. And I don't have any issues with it, but that's also because they do have cage mates, so they're not lonely. They play with the mirror a little bit, it entertains them, and then they go and do something else. You should also provide a mineral block and a cuttle bone inside of your parakeet's cage. This provides them with calcium, and it is also a way for them to trim their beak naturally, and they'll use it as they need to. You should provide different types of perches inside of your parakeet's cage. Now, this can be different types as in size and texture. I use wooden perches as well as rope perches. Now, this is another thing that is controversial, and a lot of people will tell you that rope perches will harm parakeets or just any type of parrot. But the issue is that once the rope has started getting worn and the little strings start coming off, then it becomes dangerous. But at that point, you need to throw it away. So as long as you are keeping them, nice, cleaning them, throwing them out when they're worn, then you won't have any problems with using rope perches. You can also get perches that trim the parakeet's nails naturally. Now, this will have a sandy texture, and you just want to make sure that it's not shiny, that it doesn't reflect light, because there are some perches for birds that do have glass in them, and those ones you want to avoid. Those can actually be really, really dangerous for parrots. So when you're getting one of those perches, it does have a sandy surface, but just make sure that it doesn't reflect light, that it's not shiny, and those ones are safe to use. So those are just a few things that you do need for your parakeet's cage. Just remember though, anytime you put a parakeet in a new cage or put new items into their cage, they're probably going to be terrified of them for a while. So they won't want to go anywhere near their toys, they won't use the cuddle bone, and that's perfectly normal. It takes them a while to adjust to something new and to not be afraid of it. It's totally normal for it to be about 2 weeks before they are sure that the toy is not going to try to eat them. I made Barry this really cool toy, and it took him about 3 weeks for him to not be completely terrified of it. Now let's talk about food. Food is usually where people make mistakes when taking care of parrots. A parakeet's diet should not only consist of seeds. It's really common for people to only provide their parakeets with seeds, but seeds should only make up about 40% of the parakeet's diet, and the other 60% of their diet should be fresh food. Chop is a really great way to make sure that your parrots are getting a healthy and balanced diet. So about once a week, I will make a bowl of chop, and it consists of about 8 types of vegetables, 2 fruits, and then I'll add a grain that I cook, such as quinoa, flax seeds, and chia seeds to the mix as well. Everything is cut up really small and mixed together, and it's a really great way to get a parrot to actually eat the food when they're extremely picky. And you can learn more about feeding parrots by clicking on the iCard on that corner of the screen. And that's going to teach you about how to feed parrots and all of the safe food that can be fed to parrots, as well as following me on Instagram, where I post every week my chop recipes. With my parakeets, I feed them chop in the morning and then they get their seeds in the evening. However, with really picky parrots, I would definitely not give them the seeds in the evening. So if my parakeets do not eat their chop in the morning, they don't get their seeds in the afternoon. Now, some other things to think about if you want to get parakeets, or if you already have them, is to remember that they do have very sensitive respiratory systems. Now, a lot of people do want to put their parakeets in the kitchen, and that can actually be one of the most dangerous places to put them. You can put them there as long as you're very careful, but just remember they're very sensitive, and the kitchen is often an area where there's a lot of fumes and smokes and things like that. Now, you never want to cook with Teflon pans if you do have any type of parrots or just any type of birds in general. Teflon pans release a chemical that is very harmful to parrots and to other birds like finches and canaries. So you want to use ceramic pans or things like that to cook for them, and also just be very careful about cooking things like chilies or things like that that create a lot of smoke. Now, it's not the chilies that are harmful to the birds. They can eat those. They don't taste spice the way that we do. But it's all of those fumes and smoke and everything like that that makes it, you start coughing and it makes it hard to breathe. It's gonna make it so hard for your bird to breathe that they can actually die from them. So you need to be very conscious about their breathing environment and not use things like hairspray or air fresheners. Those can kill birds. And then you also need to just very carefully use candles, incense, and scented oils around them. Those things can be used as long as you're careful. Looking for ones that are bird safe, things like that. I will be making more videos about how to use those things in your home if you have a bird. Now, other animals like cats and dogs can also be a danger to parakeets, as well as other animals such as pet rats that have been known to kill and eat parakeets. Now, I have all of those, so you can have those animals in your home along with your parakeets, but you have to be very careful and make sure that your parakeets are in a safe environment. Parakeets do have to have their nails trimmed sometimes, and you can actually do this yourself. You can learn how to trim your parakeet's nails by watching this video in the iCard. And that's the basics for parakeet care. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more parrot videos, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!